He said that sending troops was an option if the security situation demanded such a move. Macron also said, and I quote, "Russia cannot and should not win the war." Israel says that its army killed at least 30 Hamas fighters in the city of Khan Yunis in South Gaza. Israeli forces launched a massive assault in the city yesterday. Meanwhile, tanks and troops from the Israeli army were seen patrolling the ruins of southern Gaza. The Israeli army released footage of one of the longest tunnels used by Hamas till date. The tunnel is estimated to be around 10 kilometers long. It connects northern Gaza to the south. The IDF says the tunnel was found under a hospital in northern Gaza. Food and medical supplies were airdropped into Gaza by the Royal Jordanian Army. 4 transport aircraft dropped aid for Palestinians in the Rafah camp and 10 other sites in southern Gaza. This was the biggest airdrop operation so far, with much needed aid dropped to millions of Gazans. US President Joe Biden says he is hopeful for a full ceasefire between Israel and Hamas by next week. Biden added that he's working towards achieving a ceasefire by the 4th of March. He added that one aspect of the deal would include the release of Israeli hostages. Currently, at least 130 Israelis are still being held hostage by Hamas fighters. A US Air Force trooper set himself on fire outside the Israeli embassy in Washington. The soldier carried out the act of self-immolation to protest the ongoing war in Gaza. The airman yelled "Free Palestine" multiple times as he was engulfed in flames. First responders managed to douse the flames, but the soldier was declared dead after he was rushed to a nearby hospital. The Greek government has approved sending its warships to patrol the Red Sea. This comes after a Greek commercial ship was struck by Yemen-based Houthi rebels last week. Greece will now join the European Union's naval mission in the Red Sea. France, Italy, and Germany are leading the maritime operation. Hungary's parliament has approved Sweden's bid to join NATO. Sweden will now become the 32nd member of the security alliance. The Nordic nation abandoned its non-alignment policy after Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. Sweden's complete inclusion in NATO will occur after a document signing ceremony in the US. South Korean nurses have been given legal protection to perform medical procedures which are normally conducted by doctors. The nurses now have additional responsibilities along with the work they were already undertaking. Some nurses have complained about the heavier workload. Meanwhile, more than 2/3 of South Korea's doctors remain on strike. They are protesting the government's plan to increase the number of doctors in the country. Official data released by the Australian government has shed light on the gender pay gap in the country. The report says that on average, men earn 22% more than their women colleagues. The study was conducted using a sample from all private firms in Australia, which have more than 100 employees. Senegal's President Macky Sall has called for a national dialogue to discuss the country's delayed presidential election. Sall says, and I quote, "If we reach a consensus, I will set a date for the elections. Otherwise, the constitution will find a replacement for me." This comes just weeks after Sall suspended presidential elections in the West African nation and postponed them to December later this year. This led to large-scale protests and chaos across Senegal. The South American nation of Peru has declared a health emergency after a spike in dengue cases. Dengue cases have crossed the 30,000 mark since January this year. At least 30 people have lost their lives due to the outbreak. Medical officials say that hospitals are overwhelmed and there is a severe shortage of beds and medicines. In climate news, extreme rainfall has caused large-scale devastation in the Madre de Dios region of Peru's Amazon. According to reports, 800 people have been affected by floods. The eastern city of Inapari is one of the worst hit. The Peruvian government is considering declaring an emergency in the region. Meanwhile, rescue workers have been clearing routes to the ancient citadel of Machu Picchu in southern Peru. This comes after several mudslides cut off roads in the past few days. Authorities have also suspended railway services to the historic sanctuary. They estimate that it would take at least 2 days to clear the tracks. In Bolivia, floods and landslides have forced hundreds of residents to leave their towns. At least 40 families have lost their homes in a mudslide that struck the northern village of La Quina. Meanwhile, the northern city of Cobija also issued a red alert after a nearby river rose up to 12 meters. Bolivia's weather agency says rainfall in February has surpassed previous records. A wildfire has been raging in Jefferson Davis County in the state of Mississippi in the U.S. Officials say that the fire has affected more than 500 hectares of land. Firefighters have been trying to control the blaze since Saturday. According to the Mississippi Forest Commission, 50% of the fire has been contained. The northern and central parts of the U.S. will likely see a sharp swing in temperatures this week. American forecasters say a heat wave in these areas will make way for a cold front. In the state of Wisconsin, the mercury is expected to reach an all-time high for the month of February. However, the warm spell would be short-lived as heavy rains may trigger snowfall by the evening. A deadly type of bird flu has reached the mainland of Antarctica for the first time. The Spanish National Research Council has found the H5N1 virus in 2 dead seabirds. Scientists say the flu is a potential threat for the continent's huge penguin colonies. The virus has killed millions of wild birds globally since 2021. Brazil says it's partnering with the world's biggest financial climate coalition, the Glasgow Financial Alliance, to achieve net zero carbon emissions. The tie-up is expected to mobilize funding for clean energy in the country. It'll also make efforts to restore 60,000 square kilometers of damaged Brazilian Amazon rainforest. On to business and tech news. Bitcoin briefly touched the $57,000 mark yesterday. The cryptocurrency's price surged by 9%. The level was last observed 2 years ago in November 2021. This rally in Bitcoin has been attributed to substantial buying by institutional investors. MicroStrategy, a US software firm, revealed yesterday that it had recently acquired 3,000 Bitcoins for $155 million. US companies are now prohibited from exporting goods and technology to Canadian equipment firm Sandvine. Sandvine is accused of aiding the Egyptian government in targeting human rights activists and politicians. According to the US authorities, Sandvine's technology is used in mass web monitoring and the censorship of Egyptian opposition. An expert panel has found a disconnect between Boeing's top management and employees. The panel was appointed by the US Federal Aviation Administration to review Boeing's safety management in early 2023. The panel report said that there is a lack of awareness of safety metrics at all levels of the organization. It also found an inadequate implementation of the plane maker's safety culture on a number of fronts. Citigroup has appointed Viswas Raghavan as its new head of banking. Earlier, he worked as head of global investment banking at JP Morgan. Raghavan has left JP Morgan Chase and will join Citigroup this summer. Meanwhile, Citigroup is streamlining its businesses into 5 main units that report directly to the CEO, Jane Fraser. Online travel firm Expedia is laying off 1,500 employees globally. This represents about 9% of its total workforce. The job cuts are part of Expedia's organizational restructuring. This comes after the firm forecast a decline in revenue for 2024 earlier this month. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission, along with 8 U.S. states, is suing supermarket chain Kroger to block its takeover of rival Albertsons. The FTC says that the merger of 2 of the biggest U.S. grocery chains could result in essential items getting more expensive. The $24 billion deal has drawn criticism from lawmakers and consumer groups. They are concerned about potential grocery price hikes, job losses, and store closures following the merger. Chinese plane maker COMAC will be showcasing its jets in 5 Southeast Asian countries in the coming weeks. The countries include Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Malaysia, and Indonesia. The firm will be displaying its narrow-body jet C919 and smaller regional jet ARJ21. Last week, these jets were showcased at the Singapore Air Show, their first flight outside mainland China. Chinese fashion firm Shein is reportedly considering a public listing in Britain rather than in the US. The decision comes amid increased scrutiny of listings by Chinese firms on the US stock exchanges. According to the report, Shein is worried that the US Securities and Exchange Commission may not approve its IPO. The company is exploring the possibility of listing in other territories including the UK, Hong Kong, or Singapore. Chipmaker Micron Technology has started mass production of its high-bandwidth memory chips called HBM3E. These will be used in NVIDIA's latest artificial intelligence processing units. According to Micron, its new memory chips will consume 30% less power compared to the current ones. Meanwhile, Google's AI unit head has said that they will relaunch the Gemini AI image generator in the next few weeks. A Gemini model-based AI tool was introduced for public use earlier this month. However, it was pulled down last week. This was after some users reported that the AI bot generated inaccurate historical images. Moving to sports. In cricket, Indian skipper Rohit Sharma took a dig at players reluctant to participate in Test cricket. In the post-match conference after the 4th Test in Ranchi, he said players who don't have the hunger to play Tests won't be given a chance in the format. Rohit Sharma's stern message comes after the BCCI hinted at consequences for players who skip first-class cricket. India cemented their second position at the World Test Championship rankings after clinching the 5-match Test series 3-1 against England. India's point percentage rose from 59.52 to 64.58. Meanwhile, England's percentage slumped and fell to 19.44, keeping them in the 9th spot. All-rounder Hardik Pandya has made a comeback to competitive cricket yesterday. He featured in a tournament and notched 2 for 22 in 3 overs. Pandya was out of action after suffering an ankle injury during the ODI World Cup last year. In football, English Premier League club West Ham beat Brentford 4-2. Jared Bowen found the back of the net thrice for the Hammers. Emerson scored the 4th for West Ham with a stunning 25-yard strike. This was West Ham's first victory in 2024. FIFA are launching a new series that will comprise of friendly matches in one location. This biennial series will start in March along with a soft launch scheduled in 4 countries. There are no trophies or prize money for this tournament. It's going to give national teams the opportunity to play teams from other confederations, with FIFA covering the travel costs. In tennis, Andy Murray dropped a retirement hint after winning the first round of the Dubai Open. Murray was a set down, but he fought back to overcome Canada's Denis Shapovalov. Speaking after the match, he said, and I quote, "I probably don't have too much left, but I'll do as best as I can these last few months." Pro golfer Rory McIlroy clinched the Match Exhibition tournament in West Palm Beach yesterday. This was the 9th edition of the Match Exhibition Golf Series that saw the pros McIlroy, Max Homa, Lexi Thompson and Rose Zhang battling it out. McIlroy won by racking up the most money with a win on 3 holes and the tiebreaker. In Formula One, Red Bull team boss Christian Horner could either lose his job or be cleared of the allegations of misbehavior made against him by a female colleague. Reports say Red Bull's parent company will arrive at the decision before the Bahrain Grand Prix, which is on the 2nd of March. Australia announced an additional $14.2 million for the promotion of rugby. This is to boost the participation of Pacific Islands in the Rugby Union. The aid will include support for training players and hosting major tournaments. The move is part of Australia's diplomatic push in the region. The Russian and Canadian Olympic committees both filed appeals with the Court of Arbitration for Sport. The appeals pertain to a doping case involving disqualified Russian figure skater Kamila Valieva. Russia's appeals call for its gold in the figure skating event to be reinstated. Meanwhile, Canada's appeal is seeking a ruling that would upgrade Canada to the 3rd place in rankings. On to entertainment. With just days left for the coveted Oscars ceremony, the first list of presenters for the awards have been announced. The list includes names like Zendaya, Michelle Pfeiffer and Al Pacino. Some presenters who were a part of the ceremony last year, like Brendan Fraser and Michelle Yeoh, will also join the group. The 96th Oscars ceremony will take place on the 10th of March. Meanwhile, actor Ryan Gosling will bring his Kenergy to the Oscars ceremony. He will be performing I'm Just Ken live at the event. According to reports, he will even sing the song. I'm Just Ken has also been nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars. The cast members of Dune Part Two put their most fashionable foot forward for the premiere of the film. The premiere took place in New York City and had cast members like Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya and Austin Butler in attendance. Actors Florence Pugh, Anya Taylor-Joy and Josh Brolin also were present at the ceremony. Dune Part 2 will release in theaters on the 28th of February. Meanwhile, the premiere of The Regime, starring Kate Winslet, also took place in New York City. Winslet arrived at the event in a chic, oversized, cream-colored blazer. Other celebrities who attended included Wilson Cruz, Lane Slattery and Luke Slattery. The 6-episode series will premiere on the 3rd of March. Bridgerton actor Charitra Chandran is working to produce a reality show based on the ancient Sanskrit language text called the Kama Sutra. Chandran says that she wants to change the reputation and connotation of the text in the West, where it is not so pleasant. The show is in its early stages of production. Piers Morgan, Nigella Lawson and Oprah Winfrey are the new victims of deepfake. They were featured in an online advertisement promoting a self-help course. The manifestation course was selling for approximately $37. The course claimed that it could change one's life. Rapper Kanye West has called out athletic apparel and footwear company Adidas for selling fake Yeezys. He expressed his dissatisfaction on social media, claiming that he never approved the designs. The rapper alleges that the company will soon start selling a new line of shoes which were designed by him. West also added that Adidas is suing him for $250 million. A producer has filed a sexual assault lawsuit against rapper Sean Combs, who is popularly known as Diddy. This is a new addition to a string of pending lawsuits against him. But unlike the other cases filed by women, this 5th case has been lodged by a man. He's claiming that Combs made unwanted sexual advances towards him. The plaintiff is seeking $30 million in damages. Actor Jodie Turner-Smith has spoken about her divorce from actor Joshua Jackson. She said, and I quote, "Sometimes things we really want to work just don't end up working." Smith also added that she is enjoying her time where she doesn't have to focus on a man, as men take up a lot of space. The former couple parted ways after 4 years of marriage last year. Indian singer Pankaj Udhas has passed away at the age of 72. The veteran ghazal singer breathed his last yesterday following a prolonged illness. His last rites will be held today. Pankaj Udhas is survived by his wife and 2 children.
Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost.